Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel, and thanks for tuning in to my top 15 rookie pre-draft wide receiver rank show. This is the final show before the big event, which is actually 2 weeks away from today. It's recording this 2 weeks before the NFL draft. Super excited. Got 2 more pieces of information headed our way with draft capital landing spots, but it's fun nonetheless to put our ranks out there pre-draft, and I'm excited to see how they stack up to post-draft ranks that I'm sure I'll do another show on this channel. If this is your first time on the channel, thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. Please join me along this great journey. My purpose of this channel is to really help Dynasty owners get future looks into future Dynasty prospects and players. You'll notice on this channel, if this is your first time here, if you peruse around, I've got rookie film reports. I've got film breakdowns on not only the 2023 class, but 2024 and 2025. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. So what do we think about this class overall? I think we're going to get some good wide receiver 2s and 3s out of this class. I'm not sure we're going to get a lot of alpha wide receiver 1s. We might get 1 or 2, but I've been watching these guys playing the game of Devy football. I've been watching all these players for 2 or 3 years, so I feel like I got a really good gauge on their ability on the field. I'm primarily a film guy, looking at their skill sets. What do I look for in wide receivers? Well, I want space creation. I want physicality. I want defensive manipulation. So putting all of that together, let's get right to it, man. My top 15 wide receivers heading to the NFL draft. All right, coming in at number 15, we got A.T. Perry. Okay, played 92% of the snaps out wide, which is great. There's not a lot of boundary receivers in this class. We got a lot of smaller guys who have a little bit more versatility. So A.T. Perry comes in at number 15. He had 7 drops on the season. A little concerned about that. I'm not sure he's a elite space creator. Did play very well at Wake Forest, had some very productive games. One of the bigger receivers at 6'3", 195 pounds in this class. So if there's a team out there, an NFL team looking for a boundary receiver, I think he would fit the bill. I'd see him as a day 3 pick. Obviously, came in with a good 4.440, tested pretty well in the 70th percentile and higher for the burst score and speed scores and everything. So he's got a little ability. I mean, what I don't like when I see and watch his film is I just don't think he's got the physicality to win at the catch point in a lot of cases. I think he was schemed open a lot, but nonetheless, A.T. Perry comes in at number 15. I'm not going to go through, a lot of skill sets in this show. I just want to kind of run through them and put them out there on where I see these guys being drafted in the order. And of course, as we know, draft capital and landing spots it will change the game a little bit. All right. Coming in at number 14, the player that just seems recently in the last couple of weeks to getting all of this buzz is Jonathan Mingo from Ole Miss. All right. 6'1", 226 pound receiver. He played 50% out wide. He actually played in line 10% as well. So why am I telling you that? Well, he provides a little versatility. I have a film out on this channel. Go take a look at it. I believe against his game against Alabama, where you can see that versatility. Now, he's getting comped to Deebo Samuel, and I think that's like a really bad comp. Deebo Samuel is a lot more physical and much better hands. And now, Mingo tested very well, right? But I'm just not buying into he's an elite route runner space creator. If you look at his highlight films on YouTube, he has a lot of vertical plays, but he doesn't create a lot of separation. And then the film that I prepared, he was schemed open a lot and didn't see a ton of one-on-one, beating coverage and short area quickness. So I'm a little nervous about him and his ability to create space at the next level. But again, if there's an NFL team out there that is looking for a, physical, receiver who can play in the slot, play in the back, in the H-back position, I think, Jonathan Mingo, he tested really well. He was in the 90th percentile in speed score and burst score. So a lot of people are looking at that athleticism from his testing. Had a really good 4.46 given his size, 40 time. So people think that there's the athleticism there, but just because you're athletic at the combine and doing drills doesn't mean that necessarily translates to the field. What I see on the field is a really nice wide receiver, but a guy that's going to land on our Dynasty roster and produce consistency in fantasy points. That's what this show is all about, right? This is what we're looking for in this particular show, not if he just gets drafted at the NFL, but what kind of fantasy option is he going to be in the future? It's going to, again, depend a lot of these receivers. And of course, in this game of Devy that we love, landing spots spots and draft capital matter. Landing spots more, and opportunity matters. So I think he'd be a nice addition to a team. I don't see him being anything more than a wide receiver 3 on a team, maybe bumping up to a wide receiver 2. Jonathan Mingo, one of the bigger receivers in this class that is recently getting a lot of buzz. We'll have to see where he lands, but he's outside my top 10 at number 14. A guy coming in at number 13 who I really kind of like. He's kind of one of my sleepers in the class, a name that probably you're not going to hear in a lot of other top 15 wide receiver ranks shows, and that's Charlie Jones from Purdue, man. I put a film out on this channel, so if you're a Dynasty guy, go take a look at that Charlie Jones film and my Mingo film, actually, for that, to kind of get an idea of what kind of videos that you can find on this channel that's going to help you scout players more than just highlight films. But Charlie Jones, man, I'll tell you what, he's an older prospect, 24 years old. People are going to knock him for that, right off the bat. 5'11", 175 pounds. So he's another one of these receivers that are just in that mix of 5'11", 5'10", 170, 180 pound range. But man, I really like this kid. He played out flanker 90% of the routes. But I'd go watch the video, man. I love this guy's physicality. He faced press a lot in that film that I made, and you could just see that he has the ability with his physicality to shed contact at the catch point. And what I really like about Charlie Jones is he is a special team elite player. So what that means is that, the team is going to draft him and put him immediately in special teams, which means he's going to get on the field. He's going to make that 53-man roster. And I think he is, a player that is undervalued. Go watch that Big Ten championship game, man, where he freaking dominated, against Michigan. So this kid can play. Not a lot of buzz on him. So he's my first kind of, sleeper of my draft show here. But I got Charlie Jones coming in at number 13. All right. Number 12, I've got Nathaniel Dell. All right. Smaller player, 5'8", 165. Had some buzz at the Senior Bowl. Ran a decent 4.4940. This guy is a space creator, right? And he's undersized at 5 foot, 165 pounds. So that's why he's kind of in my back end of my ranks, man. But you can't deny the production that this kid brings. He is a twitchy athlete. He played 70% of his routes came from the slot, so he is going to be a slot option only in the NFL. So I think landing spot for Nathaniel Dell is going to be important, because hopefully he can get on a team that maybe has a wide receiver 1 or 2 already in place, like the Eagles, for example. My Philadelphia Eagles could use a guy like Nathaniel Dell to create space in the middle of the field, and has the ability to go deep and be an explosive playmaker. What does that mean when it translates to a consistency fantasy production? I think it's going to be kind of boom or bust on a week in and week out basis. He also had 9 drops this past season, so his hands could be not the best. But anyway, explosive player. He's higher in a lot of other ranks right now, but we're going to have to it's going to be really interesting to see what his draft capital comes in. Another fast player here coming in at number 11, Tyler Scott from Cincinnati. Ran a good 4.440. He is known as a speed guy, all right? He had over a 13 ADOT, which is average depth of target down the field. You watch his film. He doesn't have the most expansive route tree, but again, speed sells in the NFL, so he's got to be here, in the top 15 ranks. There's a lot of players out there, or a lot of analysts out there, that really like Tyler Scott. I mean, that's in the top 1, in the top 5 or 6, right? I think he's a raw route runner, but his ball skills are good. He's got good hands. He's got speed. Like I said, he's got that vertical push, and he's got sprint speed, and I think he's got that ability to win on all levels of the field. So he's kind of a flyer here, not inside my top 10, because I think his raw route running is the thing to me that kind of, doesn't put him in that top 10. But Tyler Scott is a player that's getting a lot of buzz heading into this draft cycle. And, as we talked about with Nathaniel Dell, the NFL just loves speed. So there is where I got Tyler Scott. Coming in at number 10 is Jaden Reed from Michigan State. 77% of his time was spent out wide. So he's got that versatility, can play inside and outside. Again, on this channel, I've got a film breakdown of Jaden Reed. He had more explosive plays over the last, I think, 2 or 3 years in college football than any other player headed to the draft. So, but he's got excellent ball skills. He's got strong hands. And what I really like about him, when you watch him play, he's got that mentality on the field of physicality and that my ball mentality. So he doesn't break a ton of tackles, in the second level, but I kind of like his route running a little bit. And I think he's a receiver. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. Again, another receiver in this class we got a ton of guys in this class that are 5'11", 190, all with the ability to create space, all with the ability to have big, good ball skills. The route running technique is probably what's going to make or break whether or not, which of these players actually make it. But because of that rawness of his route running a little bit, I can't put him in much higher than number 10. But Jaden Reed, exciting player. A lot of analysts out there are very high on him. Coming in at number 9, I'm probably a little lower on this player than consensus out there, is Josh Downs, okay? He's a dynamic athlete, don't get me wrong. 5'9", 171 pounds. Again, if you really look at what the current landscape and dynasty players, the Rondale Moore kind of comp to me, or the Wan'Dale Robinson kind, these smaller players, even though they are super explosive in college, what does that translate to a dynasty projection, right? He's going to be limited to the slot. I mean, he played 82% of his routes at North Carolina in the slot. And that's where he's going to win. He's going to have to, again, go to a team like we talked about, Nathaniel Dell, to a team that already has a wide receiver 1. Maybe this guy could be a number 2. He is very twitchy. He is, I'm just concerned about his frame, right? The physicality of wide receivers is something that I highly value in my scouting analysis. So, as much as Josh Downs had all the highlight reels and the great ball catches, he's got good ball skills for his size. His physicality, the catch point is good, but is he going to be able to shed, press coverage in the NFL and get open on a consistent basis? That's where my concern is with him. If you go back and, like I said, and look at the current dynasty landscape, you're not going to find a lot of 5'9", 171 pound guys out there that have been really, really productive consistently. That's my concern with Josh Downs. You can't compare him to Devonta Smith on my Eagles because Devonta Smith is 6'1". This kid's 5'9". So again, I'm just not as high on Josh Downs as others, okay? Another player I'm probably a little lower on here, coming in at number 8, is Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, okay? We know he's got the speed. We know he's got the explosion. We know he's got the ball skills and hands. But I just didn't see him face press coverage. And Steve Smith did a show on Underdog, and where he said that out of all the career routes that Jalen Hyatt ran in 4 years at Tennessee, he faced press coverage, I think, 62 times, which is very, very, slight, right? He played 88% of his time in the slot. Can he win on the outside? Tennessee, again, I have a film breakdown on this channel. I know that I sound like a broken record, but it's true, of him with, I think, 2 games against good SEC competition, and where he's on the radar because of all of his production. But how did he win, right? That's what I look at with these wide receivers. Like, how are they winning? Jalen Hyatt didn't win for himself. He won based on scheme. He's got the speed. We know NFL teams love speed. I get it. I just can't put Jalen Hyatt as a first-round pick in the NFL draft. I'm just a little lower on him because I don't know what kind of technical route runner he is. I haven't seen enough on film to say, like, can you win one-on-one with a guy in your face? So, he's 6 foot, 176 pounds, good size to a certain degree, maybe a little light, but, how he translates to the NFL is going to be to me, his success is going to be based on how he can create space and does he have the physicality to win. And you got to be, that's the name of the game. That's what we don't know with Jalen Hyatt. Watching his film, that's why he is at number 8. Now, a player that I'm probably higher on than most, I've seen KeeSean Boutte, okay, or Boutte, whichever way you want to say his last name. I got him here at number 7. I've seen him outside of top 15s. I see him like way down the ranks. People have already wiped themselves clean of Boutte. I get it. I can understand the concern. But this year, he looked like he wasn't interested in playing, really didn't have a good testing scores, just seemed disinterested. But I'm going to take this shot based on the other players in this class. I'm not going to give up on Boutte, and I'm going to be really, really excited to see where his draft capital is, because if he gets day 2 draft capital and someone takes a swing with this kid in the 3rd round, I think people are going to jump back on the bandwagon. Now, there's some intangible concerns about him. There's some injury concerns about him. I get it. But, man, go back and look at his 2021 film. I mean, this time last year, people were talking about him as next year's, wide receiver 1, 2, or 3, right? He didn't have a very good year. I don't really know why, but I'm going to go back to the 2021 film and trust the eyes that I see on that, where, he's not the fastest guy, but he's got the physicality, 5'11", 195 pounds. So even though he's a little lighter in size as far as height, the guy's got the physicality and the ball skills. I mean, we've seen the ball skills. He's not the best yak runner, but I think he's got some. I think it's a season to forget, and I'm going to swing with him here and think that he gets the draft capital better than most people think. Coming in at number 6, one of my favorite players of the draft. He's been in my top 5 or 6 for months now, and that is Marvin Mims from Oklahoma. I've liked this kid. He's a 3-year junior, so he's getting that early declare that we love. I love this kid's physicality, his ball skills, and hands. Not only that, he played 70% of his snaps out wide, and he's got a vertical push, right? So again, another receiver, 5'11", 183 pounds, ran a 4.38 40, so we know he's got some wheels. He had 8.5 yards after the catch, which is one of the best, if not the best, yak yards of any player coming into this draft. All right, so Marvin Mims is kind of a late riser here, but he hasn't been a late riser for me. I've been a Mims guy for quite a while, playing at Oklahoma. Didn't have the most productive season at Oklahoma, but it doesn't matter. We can't worry too much about production. Every player finds themselves in a different environment, so you have to look at the skill set on the field. I like what I see with Marvin Mims. I think he's got the ability to be a surprise early pick in the NFL draft coming up. Coming in at number 5, the most polarizing player probably in this draft as far as wide receivers, and that is Quentin Johnson here. He is going to be the big risk-reward play. He is going to get round 1 draft capital, and even though we want to draft guys that get round 1 draft capital early in our rookie drafts, I'm going to pause just a little bit, man. Listen, we know, and I'm sure you know as well watching this video, there's all sorts of ideas and thoughts and everything about Quentin Johnson. Again, I've got a film on this channel on Quentin Johnson. Go take a look at it. Like everything about his game, everyone's disappointed with his 40 time at 4.55 was his pro day, right? But the guy's a twitchy athlete. I think he's got, some decent ball skills when it comes to, route running. Not ball skills, because the ball skills are what I'm most concerned about, right? Go watch the film I have on this channel, and you're going to see a guy who's made some catches, contested catches down the field, but he just doesn't look natural and had that my ball mentality, right? He's one of the only true X or Z boundary receivers in this class, and I think a team that needs a bigger body like this. I mean, he's got 6'3", 208. He's got the length. He's got the size. He's got everything that you dream of an alpha wide receiver, but does he have that my ball, my dog mentality where he goes up and gets the ball at the catch point when he's down vertical on the field? And you'll see even in intermediate and short routes, there's times where he gets pushed off the ball by more physical DBs. And I'm just wondering, sometimes I think a player like Quentin Johnson knows he's the most athletic and bigger and has the size and length than anyone in college. So he doesn't maybe try as hard. But, man, when you get to the NFL, every freaking day in practice, you're going to have to win every route to show those players and show those coaches that you got what it takes to get open on a regular basis. So, Quentin Johnson in my top 5, he's a big risk reward player. He could hit and be huge, or he could maybe hit and not be so good. So I don't know where it's going to be. We don't know the intangibles, the big piece of the puzzle that none of us will ever get to know because we're not in those rooms, interviewing these kids. We don't know what kind of work ethic he has and how much drive he has to be one of the best receivers in the NFL. But he's got the athletic traits that NFL teams love: length, size, height. It's those ball skills that just has me just a little bit concerned, but we'll have to see what happens. All right. Coming in at number 4, probably one of my favorite players of the draft. And if you've been following me for a long time, either on Twitter or part of my, Devy dashboard community, Cedric Tillman has been one of my guys since the beginning. All right. Again, I'm going to say the same thing I've said a couple times on this show. search my YouTube channel and go watch his film on 2021 against Alabama and Georgia and just take a look at how he dominated those DBs in those two games. Now, 2022 was a year kind of forget. He had an ankle injury, but I really, really wish he hadn't had that injury because I really believe Cedric Tillman would be getting a little bit more love. He's probably in the top 10 for most analysts out there. I get it. But again, 6'3", 213 pounds. He's another bigger boundary receiver in this class. There's not many of them. So, again, if a team needs a bigger guy, I think, he is going to be an option for a team. And I think he's going to get better draft capital than people realize. He played 90% of his snaps, really in his career outside. So he's not going to be a slot option. So unfortunately, he doesn't have that versatility. Doesn't mean that he couldn't win maybe in the slot, but he's going to be a boundary guy. But he's one of my favorite players in this draft. I think he's underrated. And I really, really wish he didn't hurt his ankle this year because he made Jalen Hyatt become this known commodity in the draft this year. And I think if Tillman never got hurt, I'm not sure Tillman would be getting the draft capital love that he's getting right now. But give me Tillman over Hyatt from what I've seen on film, to be able to create space on his own, to be able to go up and get the ball, and have that physicality to win in the NFL. Coming in at number 3, you're probably not surprised. The last 3 are probably the top 3 of every analyst, and it's because they're space creators and route runners. And to be successful in the NFL, to me, that's what the game is all about. You need to be able to create space in practice every day and beat DBs to get open for your quarterback. And these last 3 players, I believe, are the 3 best at that ability, and hence why they're here in the ranks. And number 3 is going to be Zay Flowers. Why he's number 3 for me is really based on size. I mean, I think could possibly be the most explosive, the most twitchy, the ability to snap in and out of breaks and create space for himself. But at 5'9", 182 pounds, I'd love the over 182 pounds. Again, he put on some weight, which is good. He ran a good 40 at 4.42, which puts him almost at the 90th percentile. So we know he's got speed. We know he's got versatility. Played in the slot, 66% out wide, 34% in the slot, which is great. That means he's a versatile piece, right? And that's really, really good in the NFL for me. If you got a guy and you watch Zay Flowers' film and they line him in the X, Y, Z, all over the damn place, and he won short, intermediate, and vertical. And so he is a chess piece that I believe you can put anywhere on the field. Again, he's not going to be a wide receiver 1 on a team. Possibly might not even be like a number wide receiver 2, but like if the Eagles or a team like that already has a 1 or 2, I keep referring to my Eagles because we need a slot guy and we need a versatile piece like that. I think he could really be a nice receiver, maybe even get into that wide receiver 2 territory in our dynasty ranks down the road. I think he can be a contributor on special teams as well. So that is also a feather in his cap. Okay. And the last thing I want to say about Zay Flowers is, up in Boston College, he was the primary receiver and everyone knew he was getting the ball and they still couldn't stop him. So that means something. I mean, this kid was on an island as far as wide receivers go, and he did a really, really nice job. Coming in at number 2 is Jordan Addison. All right, so this kid's got a lot of tools in his toolbox, like his route running chops. I think his all-around athleticism is good. I think he's a 3-level route runner. I really like the way I think of all the receivers except JSN, who we're going to talk about next. I'm sure you already knew that. This kid manipulates defenders better, than a lot of receivers in this class, and that's why I have him at number 2. Zay Flowers did that too, but I really felt Jordan Addison did a better job manipulating defenders, and I look for that in wide receivers because, you can't win just based on athleticism a lot in the NFL, but if you can use your body movements to set guys up, to create space for yourself, that's just even a better feather in your cap as a route runner in the NFL. So he's got fluidity. He can bend really good. I think he understands coverages. Played 75% out wide. Okay, so for a smaller guy, 5'11", 173 pounds, a little bit of concern about that. Does he have that physicality to win on the outside? We'll have to see. But nonetheless, Jordan Addison liked his actually Pittsburgh film a lot more than his USC film. But I know people are concerned about his size. I get it. But again, we're not asking him to be a wide receiver 1 on a team. I think he could be a solid number wide receiver 2 on a team, however. And of course, coming in at number 1 is Jackson Smith Njigba. And it's pretty funny, actually, because here we are in draft, 2 weeks before the draft, talking about JSN is pretty much everyone's consensus #1 receiver, and he didn't even play this year very much, right? So that just goes to tell you how high people are on JSN. So, didn't run. Listen, the knock on JSN is we know that he is not the fastest player. He ran a 4.53, but he had his pro day, he ran a 4.48, all right, so which was a little better. But overall, there isn't much of a better route runner, a guy that can set up defenders and really create space for himself. And he's got some good yak ability. He's not going to be a burner. Plenty of film out there where he's getting caught from behind. But again, as Cooper Kupp said many, many times, that's always stuck with me as a guy that loves to scout players, short area quickness over long speed, man. I mean, that's what it is. It is the ability to be twitchy, to get open for your quarterback, whether it's, short, like I said, intermediate or vertical. And I think Jackson Smith-Njigba, we fell in love with this kid 3 years ago when we saw that toe tap catch in the back of the end zone at Ohio State. And ever since then, he's been on the radar, and rightfully so. He could be a special player. So there you got it, guys. There you guys have it. There are my top 15. Again, if this is your first time to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I got a lot of films on all 15 of these guys on this channel to give you an idea. So if you're a Dynasty player and you're looking for a YouTube channel that, as soon as this draft is over, can kind of give you a sneak peek to the 2024 class, hit my subscribe button, reach out, give me a comment, give me a like. I mean, let me know what you think about this. Am I crazy for having Tillman at #4? Am I crazy for having Charlie Jones in my top 15? You're probably thinking of some other, where's Parker Washington? Where's some of these other guys? These are just the top 15 that I think are going to make it to our Dynasty roster. But I always love having fun making these videos, giving you another option to look at and things to think about. In the end, this is all just having fun. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.